So the first thing I have is my cover page for my toolbox. And then I have my first section, which is phonetics, the study of minimal units that make up language. And then I have my subcategories of consonants with all 21 consonants. And then I have an activity where you would use a paper clip and have them clip the sound that it makes on here. And then the little things right here show you the answers. So for this, it would be flower, so it would be the blend of FL. And then the next one I have is vowels, and I have A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. The different types of vowels are long, complex, and short. And then the vowels will be later, and then I have the next one of phonemes, any of the perceptually distant units of sound in a specific language, and distinguish one word from another. And I have my examples right there of phonemes. Graphemes are pictures, and they like to show us writing systems of any given language. So you have an example of snow, and then you have the phoneme and then the actual word, and then you have a picture of an eye and the word eye below it, as well as the cat. And here's an example of what it would look like in an activity where you have the SW, and then you have a picture of the sweater, and then the sweeping, and then snow, snake. Next is our vowels. We have long vowels, and we have pictures of vowels that are long, and all the examples. Long vowels are created by placing two vowels together or ending the word with NE. And then we have our game. This is the same game for short vowels and long vowels. So you would have these little pogs, and they would separate them into your little areas of short vowels and long vowels. And you would use that for your short vowels as well. Here is our definition for short vowels. Happens when a vowel is placed next to a consonant and our different vowels, and then the grapheme pictures. And you would use the same exact game for your short vowels. And here's just the other part of it, and there's pogs behind it. Next, you have complex vowel sounds. These vowels that initiate changes to the configuration of an oral caving during the production. And then I have my complex vowels. And then we have a game where it's a diphthong, so it's the OY, and they're going to color blue the one that makes the OY sound for the complex vowels. So next we're going to do phonology. It's the study of the distribution of sound in a language and the interactions between those different sounds. And all these subcategories, the allophones, and the definition, one set of multiple possible spoken sounds and phones or signs used to pronounce a single phoneme in a particular language. And we have our game I made where you're going to have the phonemes on one side, and then here's your example right here of what you would do of what matches the T, and you would draw a line for the L or the double L of which one matches for the allophones. And then we have syllables. As everybody usually knows, we clap for different units of sounds for syllables, and the vowel sound with the or without surrounding consonants forming a whole or a part of a word. And what we did for the syllables is that we have a game where you have different syllables. Let me get that out. And you have these jars, and then you would cut out these little jelly beans, and you would separate them into the jar for your 3 syllables or your 1 syllables or your 2 syllables, and you have more than one of those to put in there. And you would actually be able to use this for the monosymbolic as well, because it is 1 syllable. And then here are the monosymbolic examples that you would have for a syllable, a word with only 1 syllable. But we have another game where you would have the students cut out these and match what rhyming words of these monosyllabic words are. And then we have the schwa, which is the mid-central vowel sound, rounded or unrounded in the middle of the vowel chart, denoted by an IPA symbol. So this is one of the most common, and it is the amazing, and it's the upside down E is the schwa. And then banana is another one that people use a lot. So what you would do is have them go and use all the vowels for the schwa, and you would say which one goes with your E, I, O, A, and then you would have them cut these out and paste where they go. So, and we'll move on to morphology, which is the way words are constructed with stems, which are prefixes and suffixes. These are all going to be in here for the examples. Morpheme, the indivisible basic unit of language, and that one is prefixes, suffixes, and root words as the example, which will be later. And we have free morpheme. It's a morpheme that can stand alone as a word, which is actually a root word. You'll see that for the example in a minute. Inflectional morpheme is a suffix that's added to the word to assign a particular grammatical property that word. So root word is going to be our example. It's a word part that can form the basis new word through the addition and prefixes and suffixes. So you have your tree, and then you have all of your prefixes and suffixes all on the leaves, and then down here you'll see the root, and these are the root words where you could add the prefixes and suffixes to. And our game is this is for a little bit older kids, so you would have them read the definition: a small rocky object orbiting the sun. So which one can you find as a root word to help you find? And it would be asteroid. And then we have prefixes, which is actually a word letter at the beginning of a word to modify or change its meaning. So we have prefixes on this little petal. And for our little example, it's also an older game. It is where they would find the prefixes. So is the same in both words, I think it means. So by, they would see that there's 2 wheels, and try, there's 3 wheels. So it would mean the number. So try and by are not the same. So you would know that cycle is the root word, and then try and by is your prefix, as well as in insane and informal. Formal and sane are not the same, but in is, and you would circle the in. Then we're moving on to suffixes, a morpheme added at the end of a word to form a durative. So full, ion, mint, all these little different examples. And then it's one of the older ones as well. It's a puzzle where they would circle and answer each one of these to find the suffixes. And then we're moving on to plurals of a word or form denoted more than one, more than 2 in language with dual numbers. So we have these examples by using these graphemes, and then you would have them look at them, and they would circle which one is the plural. Then moving on to nouns, a word used to identify any of the class of people, places, or things. So this is for a younger age, maybe kinder or first, and it has different colors for person, place, thing, or animal, and they would color those separate things to find the different types of nouns. Then we have common nouns, are words used to name general items rather than specific ones. Too far. And then we have the common nouns, ABC order, and there's more than one page in here, so I can get it out. Okay. And then you just have the different ones that you would cut and paste to common and pronouns. And proper nouns are names used for an individual, person, place, or organization, spelled with capital letters. So you would have them actually use a color to edit and fix the proper nouns. It's actually bold for the ones that need to be fixed, and then they would figure out and change it with their color, which is green. Then we have our verbs, and we have graphemes that are showing action verbs. A word used to describe an action, state, or occurrence and forming the main part of the predicate of a sentence. And then we'll have a bingo game. This bingo game is used for a couple different ones. So you have a bunch of cards, which is in another one, and you would call them out, and then they would try to get a bingo by finding adverb, verb, noun, pronoun, adjective. I think that's all. And verb, noun, adjective, yeah. Some pronouns. And then we have adjective, a word or phrase naming an attribute added to the grammatical related to a noun to modify or describe it. So adjectives tell us what color, how something sounds, how many, what color, how something feels, the size, how something behaves, and about a noun is what it does. It describes. And then here are the cards for the bingo game. You have a couple different ones to the kids. And then these are the little part of speech. And they're inside here. And then you can see it says hat is a noun. And then we have, can't see through that. There's a couple different ones in here. And then we have adverb, a word or phrase that modifies or qualifies an adjective, verb, or other adverb as a word group expressed a relation of place, time, circumstance, manner, course, and degree. And it's the same game, and you would use it to find some adverbs. Pronouns, a word that can function by itself as a noun, phrase, and that refers either to a participant in the discourse. So we would use the bingo for your pronouns as well. So determiners is next, a modifying word that determines the kind of reference a noun or noun group has. So our determiners are pronouns, articles, demonstratives, and interjections and conjunctions. So you'll see the examples of your determiners. So conjunctions are small class of words distinguished in many languages by their function as a connector between words, phrases, clauses, or sentences. So we use the little ice cream, I was tired, and here is your conjunction. So I took a nap. And you would do the same type of thing. These are little puzzle pieces, and you would cut them up and have them match them for their, here's the sentence for your but, and, or, and then here's your sentence, and you would connect them. The barn is red, the barn is white. The barn is red, and the barn is white. Interjection, a word or phrase used in exclamation. Alas, ouch. A lot of people say wow. And then we have a game for rolling the dice, and they would roll it. And if they rolled a 1, you must include the word pet and the interjection of yes. And there is actually a game card back here. And here they would fill it in for their squares. They would sum up the squares of who gets the most points. And here's the little table grid. And then, no, we don't have any tests tomorrow. Yahoo, I got an A on my test. So it gives you a couple examples, and it makes it fun for them. And then prepositions, a word governing and usually preceding a noun or a pronoun and expressing a relation to another word or element in the clause. So we have, this is the answer key. So you have, here it is. So you would cut out these pictures, it's on another slide, and you would have them paste on there. Sarah can jump, and then it's over the stream. I think it's over the stream. Let's see. Oh. Billy fell off his bike. There you go. There's that one. Then we have compound words. Are formed when two or more words are joined together to create a new word that has an entire new meaning. And this is a cute younger game. And you have so you would have a conjunction, so it means there's more than one word. So they know that that's popcorn, so pop and corn, and they would use little clips for laundry, and they would put it on there, pop and corn. And they would do that with a couple of them and practice their conjunctions or compound words. So antonyms, a word opposite in meaning to another, and you have your anti, which is this opposite of bad, and then your synonyms, which we'll go to next. So the antonym and the synonym game is similar. It's actually a matching game, so you would have them just lay them out, and then you have go and stop, and those are opposites. So this matching game, you're looking for the opposites. And then in synonyms, a word having the same or nearly the same meaning as another in the language. And then the same thing, it's a matching game. And you would have them lay them out, and then they would look for C. What is the same as C? Near. No, they are not the same, but they would keep going until they found them. And then we have homonyms. So next we have homonyms, which each of two or more words have the same spelling or pronunciation, but different meanings and origins. So you would use this game would be their little puzzle pieces. So you have bat and bat. They're spelled the same, they sound the same, but they have two separate meanings. Crane and crane, same thing. So you would just use these little puzzle pieces for them during that example, and you're learning it. Next is proverbs, a short, pithy saying in general use stating a general truth or piece of advice. So you would have an activity after they learn this. Find the endings. So finish each proverb below by writing its ending on a line. A friend in need, and then you would find which one is a friend in need. Is a friend indeed. So that would be a proverb. Next is your idioms, a group of words established by using as having a meaning not deductible from those individual words. And then you would have a thing just as well. Find the idiom, draw a box around the idiom in each sentence, then write the letter of its meaning on the line. So you would try to find which idiom matches. Remember, idiom, a common phrase or expression in which the meaning of the whole sentence is different from the meaning of its individual word. And then we have statement sentence, asserts or declares a fact, opinion, or idea, also a declarative sentence, and it's usually followed by a period. And then we have the tic-tac-toe types of sentences. So you would roll a piece of dice, and depending on what number it lands on, you're going to have a statement, command, or exclamation, question, command, or statement. So these are your little tic-tac-toes. You're going to play as partners, and once you land on your number, you'll find which one is a statement, and then your X or your O, and then whoever gets 3 in a row wins. And you would use that for your question sentences, your command sentences, and your statement. So question sentence, a sentence that asks a question, also called an interrogative sentence. So you would use this for your interrogative sentence. And you can use the tic-tac-toe as well for this one. And this one is just for their journals where they can put it in there and write a definition. Exclamation sentence makes a statement just like a declarative, but it also conveys an excitement or emotion, ends with an exclamation mark. And you would do the same thing with its exclamatory. Here's the one to put in the journal. Command sentence, a sentence in which someone is being told to do something. And that one is going to be your tic-tac-toe dice. The subject tells whom or what the sentence is about. For example, a crook stole money from the bank. Who are we talking about? A crook. And this is the game that I shared on my Quick Share. So it's a little spinner, and then you start with you can play with 1 or 2, maybe 3 people, up to 4, and then whoever gets to the finished wins. And you would spin, and there's cards in the back of the predicate to play with, and you would find out which one is which when you would do that. The predicate tells what the subject does. A crook stole money from the bank. What did the crook do? He stole money from the bank. And you would use those cards and play on this for the predicate. Fragment are complete sentences. They are pieces of sentence that have become disconnected from the main clause. So we would use the same as the comma and apostrophe, the St. Patrick's Day coloring pack. So let me see if I can find that real fast. Comma and apostrophe. Okay, so it's the same game as this. So it's a St. Patrick's game, and when you find the error, it tells you the number and you can color. Okay. Object is the person or thing that receives the action of the verb. So we have the example of objects, and then the quiz for it is going to be at the end of the complement. So we have a quick quiz. Many Americans consider Michael Phelps the greatest swimmer of all time. And then you would match A, B, C, D, E to these 5. Complement. It's a word, clause, or phrase that needs to be complete a given expression. Every morning is a gift. Subject is every morning. Is the verb, and a gift is the complement. And then here is the example of complements, and it kind of helps you with the quiz that you'll do here. Then we have the direct object, a noun phrase denoting a person or a thing that is a recipient of the transitive verb. And we have this quiz to help you with that. Independent clause, a clause that can stand alone as a sentence. And this is going to be the same one used in the dependent clauses. And it's for a journal, and it tells the definition of your independent and your dependent clauses. A dependent clause is a clause that cannot stand alone, as a complete sentence, also called a subordinate clause. So you would use this example. Simple sentence. The most basic sentence contains a subject and a verb, a complete thought. And then it has one of these as well, and it's going to look like that, and you would write a sentence and the definition underneath it. And complex sentence, made up of an independent clause and 1 or more dependent clauses. And then here's what it looks like inside, and it's used for compound, complex, and simple. You would put the sentence on the outside, like you saw before. There is the sentence, and then there's the definition. Compound sentence is a sentence made up of the 2 independent clauses connected with a coordinating conjunction, for, and but. So you would use the same example as you saw here, here, and here. Compound complex, made up of 2 or more coordinate independent clauses or more dependent clauses. And then we'd use the same example as the other ones. And then we're moving on to period, a full pause as made at the end of a complete sentence. And it shows you pictures of what it looks like. It's used to mark the end of a declarative sentence, and it can indicate an abbreviation. And then we're going to have these examples, and there's a key right here where it says add a period, add a question mark, add a comma, take words out, spell. So it's an editing. Here is how many mistakes can you find? It's a proofreading example. And then we'll have comma, the punctuation mark, indicating a pause between parts of a sentence. And then you would use the same thing that you used for your fragments, where label and correct the mistakes in the sentence below and color the picture according to the color bank. Once you have found all the numbers and color those correctly, you may color the rest of the picture. An apostrophe, a punctuation mark used to indicate either possession or omission of letters or numbers. And here's some of the examples. Class of 20, can't, Tim's is possession, his, and then boys. And then here is another one, just like our little Happy St. Patrick's Day, except for this one has a leprechaun with a pot of gold and the rainbow. And you would find the mistakes in the sentences, and then you would find capitalization, pronoun, fragment, comma, apostrophe, possession, errors, spelling, run-ons. And then we have our question mark, a punctuation mark, there's the question, indicating a question. And you would use the same as your period example with these. Exclamation point, a punctuation mark indicating exclamation. And you will use the same thing as your period of the proofreading. A colon may be used between independent clauses when the second sentence illustrates, paraphrases, or expands on the sentence. It separates clauses. So you would have kind of the same editing, but this time we're using colons or semicolons, and you'll try to find where the mistake is and correct it for your students. Semicolons used to link two independent clauses that are closely related in thought. A semicolon can also be a super